Hi, everybody. This is my sermon for April 26, 2020. We're still under lockdown, I guess. and I've got several good things to tell you. We had a baptism last Sunday, and it was really interesting how that worked out, but I put some of that in the bulletin so you could look it up. Ariel was the young lady that was baptized. Her name is Ariel Florence, and her brother Elijah. We've been studying with them for 4 weeks now. Had a really good study. We're still studying with them, so keep praying for that. Our lesson today is taken from John chapter 18, beginning in verse 28. This is the crucifixion of Christ. And I've been thinking about this, and I thought maybe I would share my questions with you, and maybe we could think these things out and see if we can come up with some answers. So let me read the scripture first, and then we'll talk about it. John chapter 18, beginning in verse 28. Then the Jews led Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. By now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, the Jews did not enter the palace. They wanted to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate came out to them and asked, "What charges are you bringing against this man?" "If he were not a criminal," they replied, "we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate said, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." "But we have no right to execute anyone," the Jews objected. This happened so that the words Jesus had spoken, indicating what kind of death he was going to die, would be fulfilled. Pilate then went back inside the palace, summoned Jesus, and asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "Is that your own idea?" Jesus asked, "or did others talk to you about me?" "Do you think I am a Jew?" Pilate replied. "It was your own people and your chief priest who handed you over to me. What is it you have done?" Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest from the Jews. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You are right in saying I am a king. In fact, for this reason I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" Pilate asked. With this he went out again to the Jews and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him. But it is your custom for me to release to you one prisoner at the time of Passover. Do you want me to release your king of the Jews?" They shouted back, "No, not him. Give us Barabbas." Now Barabbas had taken part in a rebellion. All right, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about what Pilate said. What is truth? What is truth? And in this context, I believe what he was trying to ask was, here I am, a Roman, stuck in Palestine to decide the fate of a Jew who was handed over to me by jealous religious leaders, a religion I don't understand. And they're asking me to hand you over to be crucified, and you don't seem to care whether you have or whether I have the power to crucify you or not. Pilate was probably thinking in his mind, you Jews are crazy. You Jews just don't have any sense. Don't you see that Rome has power over you? And I'm thinking that he was probably thinking that The person who has power is the person who can tell you what truth is. So who gets to tell what truth is? Well, Rome does. I'm here, you came to me. I have the power to put somebody to death. And you're asking me to put somebody to death. And here's this guy, didn't know anything about Jesus. I'm sure he might have heard something that somebody was going around and doing some marvelous works. But he didn't know really who Jesus was. Jesus said, "Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." But somehow or other, Pilate got stuck on that word truth. And he said, "What is truth?" So I don't think he was asking for information. I think he was mocking this idea that Jesus knew what truth was. So let's talk about some realities here. What is the reality of Jesus' situation? He is certainly arrested, given up by his own countrymen, the Jews. He's been handed over to the Romans for execution. Well, Pilate asked, "What is the accusation that you're making against him?" And if you look up here, they didn't answer. They said, "If he were not a criminal, we would not have handed him over to you." So apparently the Jews think they don't need to present any kind of Roman rule that was broken so that Jesus would be crucified. But that's what Pilate was asking. That was a legitimate question. What did he do? What did he do wrong? I need to decide if it's worthy of death or not. And so he interrogates Jesus again, and he said, "What have you done? Tell me, your own people have handed you over. So what have you done? Are you a king? Is that why they're handing you over? Because you say you're the king of the Jews?" So Pilate, in his mind, was thinking, you already have a king, King Herod. What are you saying you're king for? We have a Caesar in Rome. Pilate would say, well, if I said I was Caesar, then I would certainly be in trouble. Are you a king? Suppose he was looking at him and realizing that didn't look like a king. He's probably bleeding. He wasn't wearing any kingly robes. He didn't have any soldiers protecting him. Are you a king? Is that what you said? Is that why they're so mad? Then Jesus asked him back something very peculiar. I believe it is in verse 34. He says, "Is that your own idea, or did others talk to you about me?" And basically what he was asking Pilate was, have you come to the conclusion that I am the king? Well, Pilate said, no. I'm just asking you, are you the king? And then Jesus goes and he explains, my kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jews, but now my kingdom is from another place. Pilate said, you are a king. You just said it. Jesus then said, you're right in saying that I'm a king. In fact, it was for this reason I was born, and for this I came into the world to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me. So Jesus was pointing to a different kind of kingdom, a spiritual kingdom. I don't think Pilate really caught on to that. All Pilate was looking for was that Jesus confessed he was a king. But that wasn't enough to condemn somebody. You just knock him around a little bit and let him go. So Pilate goes back to the Jews and he says, I find no basis for a charge against him. So Pilate was trying to go legal on him. He was not going to be the executioner. You see, usually when you have an execution, you have a legal authority that's gone through the court system, pronounced guilt, and then it hands the guilty person over to the executioner, and the executioner then is allowed or authorized to perform the execution. So Pilate was saying, listen, I'm not going to be your executioner. You didn't provide any kind of accusation. Roman law doesn't say there's anything wrong with saying you're the king of the Jews, so I'm not going to put him to death. So, wait a minute. You have a custom that at the Passover every year, that we should, as a goodwill gesture, release somebody that we have arrested. Would you like me to release your king of the Jews? And apparently there were people planted in the crowd, and they said, no, ask for Barabbas. Now, Barabbas had actually done something worthy of death. He started an insurrection and may have killed some Roman soldiers. So they called for Barabbas to be pardoned. Okay, so now we have this in our mind, right? We know what's going on. We know what Jesus is saying. We know what Pilate is saying. We know what the Jews are trying to get done. But here's the question for us. Who has power over us? Who has the power over us? Well, when you're driving, there are officers, highway patrolmen, that are allowed to stop you and ask you questions and even arrest you. Do they have power over you? Power? Yeah, authority over you. Yeah. So you're driving to work and you come into your place of business. Is there somebody there that has power over you? Your boss? Yeah, power over you. And so we are citizens of the United States. Are there people that have power over us? Oh, yeah. We have representatives, and we have governors, and we have presidents, judges, power over us. So what is the truth about power? I remember one time somebody was asking Jesus about being afraid of those who were persecuting them. And Jesus said this. He said, "Fear not the one who can destroy your body, but fear the one who can destroy both body and soul in hell." That's power. That's power. Thinking about that a lot. You know, we live in a world, a biological world, And we live on the earth, and so, an asteroid could come at any time and just kill us. We're biological. That means there are germs floating around all the time. And if we get a particular germ in us that our body can't handle, we could die from that. But you just can't be worried about all this stuff all the time, right? When you're driving, are you worried that at any given moment you could be killed by another car? Well, you're being careful, of course, yeah, but you got to go from point A to point B, right? It's not a matter, yeah, you're concerned about it. And as a matter of fact, that's probably the best chance of you getting hurt or injured in this life is on the road driving a vehicle or being in a car.